So this video is to show you how I would approach this problem number 13 from the 0107 exercises, where we have this sales problem. So we have a local salesman who is receiving a base salary of $1,000 a month. In addition to that, he receives a commission. And how much commission does he receive? 7% on everything that he sells in excess of above $1,600. So how much would he have to sell in a month if he needed to have a monthly income of $2,100? Okay, so let me go over to my Word document here so I can do some drawing. We want to cover our monthly expenses. Which the problem tells us is $2,100. We also get a monthly base income of $1,000 that we just earn right off the bat. And then finally, we have monthly income from commission, which is equal to 7% of sales over $1,600. So let's try and figure out, the question is saying how much would we need to sell in order to cover those expenses. So sales is the unknown here. Okay, now when we have an unknown like sales in a word problem, that unknown is what is given a variable. So I'm going to use, maybe I'll use the letter X to stand for the sales. Now we want our expenses to be smaller than our income so that we can actually pay all of our bills. So I'm going to put the expenses $2,100 on the right, and I want those expenses to be smaller than, or I guess maybe smaller than or equal to, our total income. So let's try and figure out if we can write down a mathematical expression to represent our total income, which is the result of combining our monthly base income with our monthly commission income to get the total. Now the monthly base income is said to be a flat $1,000 a month. So I'm going to write down 1,000 for the monthly base income, and then to get the total, I'm going to combine that with the monthly commission. And we want that to be larger than our $2,100 monthly expenses. So if I rearrange this a little bit, subtract that $1,000 from both sides, what we're saying is that we want our monthly commission to be at least as large as the $1,100, which is not covered by our base monthly income. Okay, so let's try and translate this statement 7% of sales over 1,600 into a mathematical expression. Okay, now we have said that we're using the letter X to represent sales. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the letter X directly underneath sales to represent that I'm replacing sales with the letter X. And now I'm going to try and come up with an expression that represents this quantity sales over 1,600. Sales has been replaced by the letter X. 1,600 is already mathematical since it's a number. So the question is just, what mathematical symbol could I use to represent this word over? Now it may help for you to think about the word over as being the same thing as being, sales above or in excess of 1,600. For example, if our sales were $2,000, that would be 400 units above 1,600. In other words, to find the sales over 1,600, we can take our sales X, and then we can take away 1,600 to find the amount that we have over 1,600. Sales over 1,600, X minus 1,600. Now the word of also has a specific mathematical meaning. The word of translates to multiplication. So I'm going to replace of with a mathematical multiplication dot directly underneath. And finally, we have 7%. And 7% can be turned into a mathematical decimal number by moving the decimal place 2 units to the left, which gives us 0.07. All right, so doing that analysis word by word, we found an expression for the monthly commission. 0.07 times X minus 1,600. That's an expression for our monthly commission. And so let's use that down below. We want our monthly commission to be greater than or equal to $1,100. And our monthly commission was 0.07 times X minus 1,600. Okay, so now the last thing for us to do is to actually solve for X here. So there are a few different ways that you can approach solving for X. I think that the method that I would take is probably to try to eliminate this 0.07 first. Because 0.07 is being multiplied, you can eliminate it by doing the opposite of multiplication, which is dividing. So I'll divide both sides by the positive number 0.07, and that will cause it to be eliminated from the left-hand side. And let's see, let me go to my calculator. Let's see what 1,100 divided by 0.07 happens to be. That is 1,500. Let's go to the nearest penny, I suppose. 15,714.29 cents. And then finally, to solve for the amount of sales, which we called X, we can add 1,600 to both sides. And let's cook that up in the calculator as well. Plus 1,600 gives us 17,314.29. So if our sales is anything larger than that, then we will have enough to pay our bills. So let us hope that this individual is selling something like boats or cars, where it's feasible to actually sell this rather large amount of money. Now, in terms of the question's directions, it says round answer to the nearest penny and do not use commas. So I would go ahead and type in 17,314.29, and there you have it.